Disinformation knows no borders, and today the stakes seem higher than ever. Welcome to Truth Talks, a brave new podcast series tackling the challenges of fake news and propaganda head on. Join us for engaging short conversations with experts from all EU member states and Ukraine as we uncover the truth behind the dominant disinformation trends and explore the strategies shaping Europe's fight against manipulation. In this episode, we are zooming in on Bulgaria. Our guest today is Dr. Ralitsa Kovacheva, Associate Professor in International Journalism at the Faculty of Journalism and Mass Communication at Sofia University. Welcome to Truth Talks.
Hello, nice to be with you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Our pleasure. So, Dr. Kovacheva, disinformation takes different shapes across Europe, often exploiting specific social, political, or historical sensitivities. In Bulgaria, what are the most prevalent disinformation narratives?
Maybe the special case of Bulgaria is that the COVID crisis and then the war of Russia against Ukraine coincided with a prolonged political crisis in Bulgaria, with very often parliamentary elections and very short terms of government. So that made the case of intertwining domestic political issues with European and global political issues. And this information about the war, about the Ukraine itself, about the European Union was used usually in order to attack the government. So it is not possible kind of to look at these different types of disinformation separately. So the main narratives, I believe, are the same as in other, especially Eastern European countries. In terms of the war in Ukraine, of course, maybe the most sustainable one was that they, meaning the government or the United States or the European Union, it depends, but they are dragging us into war. This appeared as a narrative in the first days after the war started. And I saw it 5 minutes ago, again, active on social media. Every case when something about Ukraine is discussed in Bulgaria, whether it is about military aid or about political support or about, for example, yesterday's meeting in Brussels, these narratives kind of lives another new life. Now, another reason to see these narratives revive is President Donald Trump, because he kind of repeated main Kremlin disinformation narratives and legitimized them. And now we have many Bulgarian political actors, including the president, saying that, you see, finally, this is the truth about the war, truth about Ukraine. So now we have to side with President Trump and to have this so-called peace, which is, in fact, Russian peace. It's a capitulation, it's surrender of Ukraine in Russian conditions. But we see Bulgarian political parties and Bulgarian society as a whole divided on these issues. And we've been seeing this for 3 years now. We have, for example, our prime minister wrote in Ukraine, you're not alone. And our president saying we should have peace, we should support Donald Trump, and the European Union is kind of warmonger. So we should be opposing this European position for helping military Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. So also this polarization is something that is characteristic to Western democracies nowadays. So you mentioned in the beginning that government was being attacked as dragging Bulgaria to the war. In a way, used synonymously with the European Union and the US. So I understand that in the beginning, in Biden times, US was being treated as a kind of a warmonger that is making us fight and it's putting Bulgaria and Europe in danger, yes?
Yes, yes. And we can see this change in Russian narratives. It's very obvious how the United States was the main evil actor in this propaganda for years. It was United States and NATO are aggressors. Uh, they are the evil guys, and the European Union is just a puppet. The stupid, poor Europeans, Americans are leading them to destruction. This was the narrative. And now the Kremlin says totally the opposite. They say European Union and NATO are the foes, but without mentioning United States. It's very obvious.
So, so far, as I'm listening to you, this is also a characteristic to Bulgaria that is quite different from what I'm hearing from other countries. Is that the treatment of the US in the Biden era as a party that is dragging Europe and Bulgaria to the war? Other countries would rather focus on the European Union slash Brussels as the bad liberals against the peace camp. Okay, so what would you call the major disinformation narrative that is there today? Like the most current contemporary narrative in terms of disinformation in Bulgaria?
Well, beside the narratives related to the war in Ukraine, which are typical Russian narratives, you know them. I told you about how they are dragging us to the war. Bulgarian parliament already voted on a declaration saying that we will know in any case send troops to Ukraine. You know, the idea was to form something like peace forces, peace supporting forces, not to send soldiers to fight the front, but still, Bulgarian parliament voted such a declaration that we will not send troops to Ukraine. Also, this delegitimation of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, which also was kind of supported by Donald Trump. And now it kind of erupted again here in Bulgaria as a narrative. And something popular and very sustainable is the narrative against the accepting the euro. Because, you know, Bulgaria is now almost ready to enter to Eurozone. And maybe for 2 years or even more, we have a very strong campaign against that. This campaign is led by a parliamentary political party, uh, populist party, pro-Russian party, but it also has popular support because, you know, when people are poor, they're afraid that they will become even more poor in a worse situation. So we can understand these people's feelings, but it is also obvious that this campaign is orchestrated and is full with disinformation about the euro itself, about the prices, about the inflation. See how Croatia is starving now because of accepting the euro and things like that.
And
And
how
also,
old?
there is a narrative comparing Bulgaria to Poland, saying if the euro was so good, why Poland is not accepting the euro? That means we also should not accept the euro.
Okay, thank you for mentioning it. Interesting. I want to ask you how all these disinformation narratives resonate with the public. Are the people in Bulgaria vulnerable to these disinfo narratives?
In theory, they are vulnerable. We have some predispositions, which are, for example, cultural and historical. You know, we are close languages with Russian. We have shared history moments. We also have shared Soviet communist past. So this kind of feeling in many people that they know Russia, and this I don't know how, but they're convinced that Russia could not do something wrong to Bulgaria and could not be a foe to Bulgaria. Also, we have a problem with education. We have very low results in this education PISA test. We have also very low index of media literacy, which means people are not capable to navigate in this digital information space and recognize false and harmful information. But at the same time, I today saw that we have a brand new um, data sociological poll saying that the support of Bulgarians to the EU membership has grown from 57% to 61%. And it is close, the agency said, close to the historically highest values of this mark. So maybe that shows that in a way people are not so vulnerable. That in a way, finally, ultimately, they could recognize, let's say, the bright side of the story, the true information from disinformation. Maybe because this is the most important thing, what actually people think and how they will vote or what decisions they will make. This is the most important thing, not what they're writing on Facebook, for example. Because if we see only the picture in social media, we could easily conclude that all Bulgarians are pro-Russian and anti-European. But I think this is not the case. This is only seemingly the picture.
Okay, coming back to the disinformation, we discussed the major narratives. We kind of already mentioned Russia, but I would like to hear a little bit more about major actors that are behind the disinformation narratives, behind the manipulation. So, what are the major actors that create and or spread disinformation in Bulgaria?
Like it is the case in other Eastern European countries, and maybe not only Eastern European countries, the main actors spreading disinformation now are these same actors spreading disinformation about the COVID pandemic. They kind of overnight turn to pro-Russian disinformators. Same, for example, pages, groups, persons in social media uh, now actively spread disinformation against the euro or related to Russia and the war in Ukraine. Bigger problem is not what is on social media, but that these narratives, and it is not only about disinformation, but sometimes these are talking points of the Kremlin propaganda, which are not wrong facts. These are twisted interpretations. These narratives and these talking points are repeated and legitimized by Bulgarian politicians. We hear same things from the parliamentary hall in the parliamentary debates. We hear same things from Bulgarian president, and it's very difficult to debunk these types of narratives because, as I said, it is no saying something wrong in order only to find the correct facts and say this is not true. For example, this specific Russian interpretation of the peace. Russia is talking about this type of peace for 2 years now, which means Ukraine has to forget its territories that are now occupied by Russia and just surrender and sitting while waiting Russia to attack it again. And this specific interpretation is now repeated by Donald Trump because he said no NATO for Ukraine and no returning of lands occupied by Russia. And here we have political actors, including the president, supporting this vision of peace. And it is manipulated in her in its substance, this idea for peace. But
And why do you think
no
they do so?
disinformation.
Why do you think they are now following Donald Trump in spreading kind of Russian disinformation? How do they benefit from that?
Usage and dissemination of Russian disinformation and propaganda was always because of some political actors rely on that to win the support of the voters. I'm not convinced that all of these people are kind of true believers in what Kremlin says or fans of Vladimir Putin itself. It is useful. It is part of this populist communication, which is collecting everything which is useful at the specific moment. In order to acquire voters, in order to have more followers on social media, in order to attack the government. Every time Bulgarian government decided to send a package of military aid to Ukraine, every time these narratives that they're dragging us into war are getting on their peak. So it is part of this internal domestic political fight between the government and the opposition, no matter which parties are formed the government and which parties are in opposition.
Okay, now I would like to turn to the question about how you would define the specificity, the unique character of disinformation landscape in Bulgaria.
We have discussed this issue with many colleagues from other Central and Eastern European countries. Maybe the country that is more similar to Bulgaria in disinformation landscape is Slovakia. And it's very interesting to find the answer. Why is that? I'm not sure that I have one answer to that question, but maybe one of the answers is that in Bulgaria and in Slovakia we have political parties, politicians, and representatives of the government being kind of megaphones of this disinformation. It is a legitimate point of view in our countries. I'm not sure for historical reasons. I know this for Bulgaria. I'm not sure about Slovakia. But for example, you cannot see in Poland these warm feelings towards the Soviet Union, which you could find in Bulgaria. These disinformation narratives we have been talking about are always kind of supported by a constant narrative about the great socialist past of Bulgaria, how good it was during the socialism, how cheap it was during socialism, how clever Bulgarians were, and how for example, health system was much better and things like that. These kind of supports this feeling of unsatisfaction with the government, and the same time, it makes clear association between the Soviet Union and the current Russia, generates warm feelings.
From the Polish point of view, I would say that we cut off from communism fundamentally and are fundamentally anti-communist and also have been anti-Russian very much. However, with Trump's second coming, our right-wing opposition, so peace, and yes, basically most of all peace, they are also embracing this disinformation that you could combine with what Russia is trying to spread. So while being anti-Russian, we have embraced pro-Russian Trumpian narratives. So basically the effect is the same, but these populist, right-wing populists are not in power as in, for example, Slovakia. So that's the difference. So probably who is in power and has the megaphone of power of the government.
Yes, it is very important who is in power. And because of this, very often change in Bulgarian government, the different parties sometimes switch positions. For example, now we have a party which was branded as the most Euro-Atlantic one, wanting for Bulgaria to help Ukraine, to send ammunition. And now, after Trump came, this same party said no military aid to Ukraine. Money should go to Bulgarians. Absolutely same narratives as Donald Trump. So yeah, this Trump disease is everywhere.
Yes, it is. Okay, so finally, I said that we would come back to the second part of my question that I asked beforehand about the how the disinformation narratives resonate with the public. So you said important things, for example, with the rise of support for the European Union in the Bulgarian society, and I would like to follow up on that. What is being done to limit the vulnerability of Bulgarian society to disinformation, and what more to be done would you recommend?
Unfortunately, nothing much was done during these years. It started even during the COVID pandemic when the government just decided to stay quiet and not debunk these disinformation narratives about COVID pandemic. It was coincided with parliamentary elections. We had 3 parliamentary elections in 2021, for example, and because Bulgarians are kind of reluctant to vaccines, political parties decided not to convince people to have vaccines because they were afraid that they could lose voters. And then the same when the war started, the political parties, some of them, of course, decided that it is better to stay silent if not supporting univocally Russia, but stay silent and do nothing to debunk these disinformation narratives. We created a fact-checking organization in Bulgaria, factcheck.bg. It is still here. It's working. I was part of the team for 3 years, and this was mainly the most sustainable effort to combat this disinformation. Of course, we also have other media trying to do something about that, but these efforts are kind of they are very separate from each other, and they're non-governmental from the non-governmental part. And in Bulgaria, as maybe in other European countries now, NGOs are under attack. You know, they are financed by foreign government, they are foreign agents. This Russian narrative is very popular in Bulgaria. So it is much difficult now to work and to convince the wider society that what these organizations are doing is something good, is something useful. But from the government side, I'm afraid we see nothing sustainable and nothing convincing in order to combat these narratives. And it is not possible if the prime minister says one thing and the president says other things. I'm not sure how to how to debunk whatever the narrative is.
Okay, I need some wishful thinking from you for the end. What would you recommend to be done? If Bulgaria was a better place, what would you recommend as the most important and maybe simplest solutions?
Oh, there are no simple solutions. But ideally, I would like Bulgaria to have a strong government and a pro European parliament and to uh, have a strong position in making European Union stronger. Because I think that the worst thing that could happen to Bulgaria is the European Union to be weak and divided.
Thank you very much for this very constructive, wishful thinking. That brings us to the end of our conversation about the Bulgarian disinformation landscape. Dr. Kovacheva, thank you so much for this fascinating talk.
Thank you.
Truth Talk series is part of the project Guardians of Truth, fact-checking during Poland's EU presidency, which is supported by European Media and Information Fund, managed by Kolas Gulbenkian Foundation.